Hi, I'm Brandon Podgorski. I'm an associate professor of sport management here at Trine, and I'm also the director of the Center for Sports Studies. And we got a great question for today's How Can We Help? And somebody asked, how are March Madness revenues allocated? And it's a really good question because I love diving into the business side of college sports. And I don't think people necessarily understand how the NCAA actually splits out all the revenue from March Madness. You know, March Madness makes up about 72% or at least over 70% of the revenue for the NCAA for the year. So March Madness is a hugely important event that the NCAA helps put on. Now, remember with the college football playoff, that's separate. That is not part of the NCAA, so they don't really see that revenue. But March Madness, big revenue generator for the NCAA. And don't necessarily pay attention to the fiscal years or even really the differences in the numbers here. It's really just the different kind of itemized line items here that I wanted to go through. This is showing just the impact that the pandemic had if you look at the numbers. But you can see, I want to look at expenses. This is how the money is allocated from March Madness. And this is from Forbes. And the lion's share of the money for this is, again, we're looking at fiscal year 2020, but don't get hung up so much on the difference of these amounts. It's just because COVID played havoc with the tournament. But the distribution to Division I members is always the largest item that's taken out of that budget, out of the revenue that comes in from March Madness. The largest percentage, that is the largest expense, goes back into D1 institutions. And I'll break that down in a minute. Part of it goes to D1 championships, programs, and IT tournaments. So it takes money to run these championships for all the sports, and it goes into running those. Same thing at D2 and Division III. So again, you know, with the NCAA, it costs a lot of money to run championships in every single sport in every single division. And the March Madness helps to pay for all of those championships and travel and staff and facilities and everything that goes into it. So it actually trickles down to the different divisions. Now, Division I obviously is going to get the largest portion of that. But for the championship, for NCAA championships, March Madness helps to pay for all the divisions and all the different sports for both men and women. And then there's some money for some association-wide programs and the management and general expenses of the NCAA. And if we broke down Division I, how the revenue is distributed. So like I said, Division I, they get the largest percentage of the revenue from March Madness. And this is from the NCAA here. The largest percentage goes into what's known as the Basketball Performance Fund. So if your school makes it into the NCAA tournament and they continue winning games, you can earn basically more units or credits. And there's ways that they work that out over a number of years where your school and your conference can get more money. So this is why, you know, you usually see the big Power Five remain the big Power Five, because they usually win the most games and they bring in the most revenue and they have the most TV and media money. This is why they maintain their status to some of the bigger conferences. And then grants and aids funds would be the next, almost about 24%. So just about a fourth of the revenue goes in grants and aids. Sports sponsorship funds, almost $76 million there in 2022 and this year here. And then student athlete opportunity funds. So there's different kind of scholarships they do. There's different programming they do. There's different monies that they allocate out to go back into student programming and help students with things like leadership skills. Are you being rewarded for getting out in the community and doing some good things, being rewarded for academics, giving them academic programming and things like that. And then you can see some of the other things that are allocated through D1 as far as the Special Assistance Fund, Academic Enhancement Fund, Academic Performance Fund, based on how I think they may base that off the APR for schools every year, and then conference grants as well. So hope that answers the question on how March Madness funds are allocated. Again, March Madness, very important for all three divisions, but certainly for Division I in bringing revenue into the NCAA and then being allocated right back to those member schools.